Jurassic World is written and directed by Colin Trevorrow alongside writers Derek Connolly, Rick Joppa, and Amanda Silver, and stars Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. A new theme park built on the original site of Jurassic Park creates a genetically modified hybrid dinosaur, the Indominus Rex, which escapes containment and goes on a killing spree. If you've been with me in my first channel to now, you will know that back then when I was like very little, when I was like I think middle school? Yeah, middle school. I was covering a bunch of stuff before this movie came out, like behind the scenes photos or newscast members. It was one of my first kinds of films doing like movie news of, and I don't do it as much, only for specific movies I'm excited for, mainly Jurassic Park. But I was on this movie because it was my most anticipated movie ever at the time. I remember looking up fan art of posters, of YouTube trailers. I was watching so much Jurassic Park, the original trilogy, all the time. I was drawing dinosaurs. Like, I couldn't wait for this movie to come out. I was excited about the trailers. I was excited about the fact that we're getting back to the original island, and that the original T-Rex is coming back, and that an original character from the first film is coming back. Like, there's some stuff here that I was so excited for. And when the movie came out, I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time with this film. I thought it was great. I thought it was so much fun. How does it hold up all these years later for me? Well, now looking back at the Jurassic World franchise, now that time had passed, at least for me enough for me to have a better understanding and much more advanced opinion of these movies, I think Jurassic World, this one, is the best in this new trilogy by a landslide. And that is including the extended cut Jurassic World Dominion. We'll get to the sequel when we get the chance, but this movie, to me, the best in this overall new trilogy, and is probably my third favorite of the entire Jurassic World franchise, or Jurassic Park franchise in general. I thought it was fun. I thought the visual effects looked pretty good, and they were real enough for me to believe that the dinosaurs were there, even though they aren't up to the same level to the first film, especially character-wise. I felt like this movie had lesser characters than the original film. I thought these new characters were very fun. The two kids that we followed from the beginning of the film, when we first opened up with them, are pretty fun, though they are a bit sterile and generic for my liking. I think the actors Ty Simpkins and Nick Robinson, these two have really good chemistry with one another, and they both do a really good job with their roles. They are believable whenever they're being chased by dinosaurs. Ty Simpkins is not overly annoying, and he reminds a lot of me when I was a kid, being so obsessed with these dinosaurs. So personally, to me, he was the one character in the film that I was able to latch onto at least the most, due to my personal experiences and how I was like so much of a dinosaur lover. I very much related to him a whole lot. So just personally to me, I really enjoyed that character. There's just this storyline that they have is a bit generic and we've seen before. And the development that they have, while very sweet, and I like where it went, and it made Nick Robinson's character a lot more two-dimensional instead of having just a single-minded character trait. I still think their storyline could have been a little bit better, but not that bad. The two main characters that we follow throughout the course of the film are Owen and Claire Dearing, played by Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. I think these two actors do a really good job with these characters, and while they are not the most developed characters in this entire franchise, they are likable. I really like Chris Pratt's take on action hero role that he does. He was able to do something a little bit more serious, akin to his role as Star-Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and he proved that here he could do a pretty good serious kind of role. There's only like one scene where it felt like he was just being Star-Lord, but apart from that, I think he does a really good job portraying this stoic badass that can train or at least tame the Raptors in some capacity. And I'll get to the Raptors in a second because I really like what this movie did with those guys and how it's subverted my expectations of what it would have been like. Now with Claire Deering, I think she was pretty good. I like her development from a more by-the-books lady who works for the Masrani company. Mr. Masrani is like the new John Hammond of this park. Rest in peace to the actor. And he sees the soul in this park. He has that same kind of optimism that John Hammond has. And he does do whatever he can to make sure everyone is happy and doesn't really focus a whole lot about the money. It's just Claire Deering. He even mentions to her that she really should take a break. It made me really like Masrani, as he's not just some money-hungry corporate guy. He really loves his theme park. He loves dinosaurs. He wants to make sure everyone is having a good time. I really like him as a character. With Claire Deering, she, as I said before, she's more stoic in the beginning because she's by the books and everything. She is trying to make sure we get the best products. But she doesn't really see the soul. And that makes her very... she's not close to her family or to anyone in that matter. And we do understand that she did have a relationship for a little bit with Owen Grady, and so while it seems like maybe Owen did kind of screw it up a little bit due to his carelessness, maybe it was her high standards that also wouldn't have worked out at the time, because she is still showing here that she is very strict. She doesn't really take a whole lot in terms of a joke. She is very cold-minded and just doesn't really see the soul in anything until everything goes to hell, the park goes wrong, and she sees all of her mistakes and what it's leading towards, especially with all the other scientists, and how some of them are corrupt, like Dr. Henry Wu, who is the scientist from the original Jurassic Park, now hired to breed new dinosaurs, and this new hybrid dinosaur called the Indominus Rex, which, in my opinion, is a really cool dinosaur, and I really loved its conclusion to the story. Overall, I think the character side of things were pretty good. They're not as memorable or as deep as the characters from the original film, but I think they served the plot well enough, and they are all likable enough for me to care about them. The villain, however, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, Hopkins, I don't like him. I don't. I think Vincent D'Onofrio is doing a good job acting-wise, but his character about training the raptors to be military assets? Why? I know they're trying to relate to the fact that animals are used for war sometimes, even today, but there's a difference between an elephant and a fucking brachiosaurus. A brachiosaurus can stomp on an elephant and will kill it in an instant. There's a difference between a lion and an allosaurus, a cheetah and a velociraptor. There is a fucking difference, because the strength scale between these animals are through the roof compared to what we have modern day. These dinosaurs, they only had them for a couple of decades at this point, and now they think they can train them? It took more than just a couple of decades to tame wild animals for us, because they've been with us since the dawn of time, really. I couldn't buy into this. It was too much of a stretch for this film, and it was just way too silly of an idea. And the fact that the sequels kept going with this idea, it was just stupid. It was always my least favorite part of this trilogy. It gets less egregious as the movies go on, but whenever they pop up, it just becomes just high-inducing, really. I just didn't care about this plot line. Now, that being said, it doesn't work out anyway. So the movie knows at least how stupid of an idea this is. And this leads us to the Velociraptors, as they are part of that idea. Vic Hopkins wants to tame these raptors. And what I was afraid that this movie would do when it first came out was that it would turn the raptors into superheroes. In a little bit of a sense, yes, but they still, by the end of the film, felt like actual animals. Just that Owen Grady imprinted them when they were babies, so they looked towards him as like their leader or someone that they could actually trust. And so I really like how they portrayed that, because while they can be in some ways be tamed by Owen Grady, the wrong move can set them off. They could lose their trust. They could still be dangerous and vicious killers. And by the near end of the film, near the third act, when things come to a head, we see that come to full force. Once everything goes wrong in the park and the Indominus Rex starts wreaking havoc, they find out that the Indominus Rex is actually part raptor, which then leads us to this awesome killing spree of these raptors just chewing down and taking out all these military guys in the dark. It is another one of my favorite scenes in the entire franchise. Now, to the Indominus Rex, I really like this. I was afraid that when they were going to do a hybrid dinosaur, it would look like those very monstrous B-movie type of crazy designs, or something like the early concept arts for Jurassic Park 4, where they had humanized dinosaurs hybrid with just that's like a whole another story that I want to get into another time. But I was afraid it was going to be something crazy like that. Thankfully, the design was a lot more dinosaur-like, and since this is an original creature, they're able to design it as crazy as they would like. And I like how they still decided to go for something a little bit more dinosaur-like, while still having a few monstrous elements that give it the appeal of some sort of hybrid monstrosity, like the red eyes or the long claws or the loose teeth that are all over the place in its mouth. I really liked this design of this creature. It was very scary. I really liked its camouflage ability and how it was able to utilize new abilities that it's just discovering. Basically, it's trying to test itself out in this new environment. So while it is the antagonistic dinosaur, it is really just a creature that is trying to learn its surroundings and is just discovering the world for the first time. It's like a very big baby that has no control of anything going on with him or around him, which makes this creature so threatening and very antagonistic. And you really felt for our characters and why they need to stop this creature, because now this is an island full of people. This park is up and running, and now everything is coming to a head. Pterosaurs are taking these people out. Mosasaurs are starting to now chew on the visitors. Like, all the dinosaurs are now rampaging throughout the entire park. And it was everything I wanted to see in a Jurassic Park film. This kind of chaos, if a park was up and running, this was like great. It was great to see. And because we do see main characters actually die in this first movie, like Masrani or the babysitter, there's a sense of danger. We actually feel like these characters can die at any moment, which is why once Claire Deering had the idea to bring the T-Rex out from its pen and onto Main Street to fight against the Indominus Rex, it was great, because franchise-wise, it was a nice redemption arc from Jurassic Park 3, because not only do we get a new theropod battle, but we get one that lasts much longer. We get Rexy destroying the skeleton of a Spinosaurus once it enters Main Street. We get a few glimpses and mentions of a T-Rex in this park. And in this final battle, we finally get to see the T-Rex actually start wrecking shit. And this battle between the Indominus Rex and Rexy was great. For a little moment, I was scared that they were going to pull another JP3, but Blue comes in, helps stop the Indominus Rex from finishing her off, and then we get a Raptor and T-Rex battle. It is a bit too superhero-like Marvel-esque or Hollywoodized, but for the moment, I was still always entertained, and even to this day, despite how absurd the battle could get at times, it is still very entertaining. I also love how they decided to shoot a few shots in this final battle in one take and in wide shots, giving you a good sense of scale with these two dinosaurs fighting. It was awesome. This final battle and the way it was helmed, the way it was directed, the staging, and the very end once the Mosasaur chomps down on the Indominus Rex and pulls it back into its pen. This final battle gave me everything I wanted to see, and it is, in my opinion, the best part in this entire film. Then everyone escapes. They all learn their lessons. Rexy and the dinosaurs claim Isla Nublar once again. Movie ends, and we get the piano Jurassic Park theme. And when I saw this in the theater and I was listening to the song, I legit cried. Because I was able to watch a Jurassic Park movie in theaters for the first time, and I had a blast with it all the way through. It is not perfect. The militarized dinosaur subplot is stupid, and I didn't care about the villains at all. Sometimes the visual effects can look very visual effectsy, like they look too much like CGI. At least for the most part, it looks really good, but there are times in the day where it does look a bit too CGI-ish. Mostly at night, the CGI is perfect, but sometimes in the day, it doesn't work as well. And because I didn't care much about the villain, whenever we cut back to him, it felt like the movie just stopped and the pacing was a bit all over the place, and I just wanted to get back to the main characters. But how it explored new ideas and old ideas, I think worked very well. A lot of the dialogue involving around the science of these dinosaurs was very compelling. The characters are not the best, but they're very entertaining. But all in all, I had to say this movie is still really fun. It's not perfect. It's not an all-time for the franchise. That's always going to be The Lost World in the original Jurassic Park for me. But this is still a very good entry into this franchise, and I always had a good time with it, and even today I can still get a good kick out of this film. And so for that, I'm going to give Jurassic World a B+. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.